Hey there, Hofstra fans, and welcome inside the WB Mason Coaches Report here on GoHofstra.com. I'm your host, Julian Coulter, joined by the head coach of the Hofstra Pride Men's Lacrosse team, Seth Tierney. Coach, how's it going today?
Doing all right, Julian. How are you?
I'm not bad. Well, let's get right into it for this week. This past two games, and then obviously the first one St. John's, and then a little later on in the week, you guys took on UMass in the first CAA play of the season. We already sort of discussed last week the St. John's game, but the big thing I want to know is it different when you have to prepare for an out-of-conference opponent and then get right into conference play on the couple days later?
Yeah, a game is a game, you know. I mean, and again, I know where you're headed here, and you know, certainly the conference games have a little bit more weight to it, but the preparation, you know, it's a game is a game. You know, it's a competition, and we go to prepare to win every competition.
Did you like how you guys performed in that St. John's game?
The St. John's game, you know, we did. I thought that, you know, in the first three quarters, I thought it was two teams kind of just throwing haymakers at each other and counter punch, and just making some different moves. And, you know, we had a couple of guys step up, and then in the fourth quarter we were able to break it open a little bit. Certainly that was good to see.
Move on to Saturday now. The Minutemen, it seemed that coming into the contest pretty much had the same track record as you guys, trying to get a little bit sooner on in their season, get closer to 500, and both obviously start off 1-0 in CAA play. What you like in the game, what you dislike?
Yeah, I mean, again, I didn't like the verdict. I didn't like our energy. And not that it was terrible, but it wasn't what it was supposed to be. And I don't want to take anything away from UMass. They got out of here with a win. It's something that we wanted, and you know, they came in and they took a memory from us, and we can't allow that to happen. In men's lacrosse, the CAA play is vital. You know, you only have 5 games, and you got to be able to do some damage in those 5 games, and one of them's now gone, and now we're down to 4. So we have to we got to make sure we understand that. We're not trying to hide it from our guys. Yesterday in practice, we had spoken highly of it, and we just let them know. I mean, they need to. They're grown men. They need to understand what's going on. So we weren't thrilled with the execution. We weren't thrilled with some of the energy. And you know, again, this season has been, you know, a scene at like CSI. We're just trying to figure out what's going on and try to put these pieces together. You know, again, each week I tell you, the guys on the team are great. You know, it's not a lack of caring. It's not guys throwing in the towel. That never happens with us. But it's just one of those things where we just need something to click. And you know, again, when we said we started the season over, you know, this past week we're 2 wins and 1 loss. And the problem is the loss hurts. The one loss that we do have in this second season is a weighted loss because of the CAA.
Now you look at the stat categories from the game. You outshoot them, you outground ball them, you pretty much dominate them in most of the major stat categories. But it still runs at certain points in the game that what wound up dooming you. How do you avoid that going forward?
Yeah, I mean, that's the question. You know, we look at all the stats, and stats are always great for the losing coach, right? They go back and they go, hey, why didn't we win? So every losing coach looks at the stats as it's gospel, and every winning coach looks at the stats and kind of just really focuses on that last stat that has, you know, the amount of goals scored and the amount of goals given up. And so, you know, that's the breakdown of sports. We need to, we are winning some stats. We had guys that didn't play as well as they could have and still did okay. But it wasn't good enough because those guys, you know, they took the win, and you know, again, they played a little bit harder during certain areas, and we need to make sure that doesn't happen ever again.
Moving on to this week, another big-time matchup in the CAA against the University of Delaware. Bob Schillinglaw always puts that team pretty much in a position that they can fight for the conference each year, and he's been doing it as longer than anybody in men's lacrosse when it really comes down to it. Before you sort of get into that game, now that you're a game in a conference season, you have a good pulse on the team, do you see any changes or anything like that? Any competitions in it?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we opened up some competitions, you know, one in the goal. We're looking at some attack spots. There's some middies that, you know, we're looking for some guys to step up. And, you know, we're going to see how things play out this week. It's going to be a spirited week of practice. You know, I can tell you that. And, you know, again, we're going to be prepared like we always are to, in regards to what the other team is going to do and what we would like to take away and try to take away and what we want to accomplish offensively. We just need to when the whistle blows, we just need to execute, just play loose and play hard.
I mentioned that Delaware team, Bob Schillinglaw, the head coach. He's been doing it, like I said, longer than anybody in men's lacrosse. It seems like every year you guys go head to head with this Delaware program. What does he bring?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Schillinglaw was one of the best. He's an icon in our sport. You know, he doesn't look it, but he's been around, you know, since the wooden sticks. And I went to lacrosse camps, you know, and where Coach Schillinglaw was a counselor years and years and decades ago. And he's just a wonderful man for the sport. He's done a wonderful job at Delaware. And, you know, again, his teams are always very competitive, scary. Their first midfield, we're just starting to learn about them now. Watching some film yesterday, certainly going to dive into it today. But their first midfield and some of their offensive guys can put some points on the board. They always have a great face-off unit, and we'll see how things play out.
One of the things I was going to mention is it seems like in the Colonial, the biggest battle every single game is at X. And Tyler Barbarich is one of the best in the country for Delaware, going up against Chris Clark, who's pretty much cementing himself as one of the best in the country as well. How does he win the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, last year we didn't do too bad at the face-off X, and Chris did a good job. And you know, Tyler is one hell of a competitor, and then they got a guy behind him, and then there was a couple of games where they had a pole facing off. So we got to be prepared for just about everything, and we got to make sure it's a huge scrap. We thought our wing play was okay during UMass, but it's just got to be better, and having the ball is going to be a huge point.
Finally, Coach, what do you think the key is to victory, to getting 1-1 in a Colonial, and as you said, with the new season being 3-1?
Yeah, energy, execution, and desire. Those would be the three things that we're going to speak about this week in practice.
Coach, thanks so much for the time. That's the head coach of the Hofstra Pride men's lacrosse team, Seth Tierney. I'm your host, Julian Colchi. You've been watching the WB Mason Coaches Report.